Alrighty, so hey guys, my name is Mike Tarallo. I'm a Principal Marketing Manager with Qlik, and I would like to welcome you to this Do More with Qlik Webinar Series, where today joining me is special guest and colleague, Director of Product Management for Qlik Data Integration, Ola Mayer. Ola, if you're on, say hello. No, if
hello,
you're on.
Everybody. Yes, I am.
I know you're on.
I am on. Thank you for the introduction.
You're welcome. And you'll have a chance to introduce yourself when I bring up your slide in a moment. So it's awesome to have her with me today. And also, Ola, just a personal thank you to you and your team for guidance and introducing this latest capability that we're going to talk about today, hybrid data delivery. So before we continue, we're just going to go through some quick housekeeping and information slides, something I always like to do just to make sure everybody is aware. Please note there's a Q&A panel. Some of you have used it already. I encourage you to type in your questions during the presentation. We will cover them either during or towards the end. It all depends on the nature of the question. Any questions we do not get to, we can always send you a reply by if you reply to the registration email or you use an email address called domorewithqlik@qlik.com. We could always directly reply that way as well if you're shy. But hopefully you're not. Please speak up. Definitely want to hear from you. Also, if you want to put the presentation into like a full screen mode, there's a 4 square icon in the upper right of the media player. Be sure to click that icon and it'll try to make it as large as possible. If you need to get in touch with us and you want to learn more, you can always go directly to qlik.com. You can send us the email to domorewithqlik@qlik.com or follow us for immediate updates via our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, join the conversation with myself and others in the Qlik community. Okay, just in case you missed it, on our last session, I had Director of Product Management, Kayake Zaniolo, with me, and we covered our new Qlik Sense mobile app and its many capabilities. If you missed that, I encourage you to view our Do More session archive. Includes over 20 previous sessions. The archive is available as a link in your resources list that you should also have in your player. Okay, on the next Do More with Qlik, I'm going to cover a variety of features that help you add context to your data, share your analytics with others, and drive discussion with collaboration. So covering new capabilities such as collaborative notes, self-service reporting via subscription, chart sharing, and more. So please be sure to join me on July 15th at 10 a.m. Eastern. I believe that's still a Thursday right now for these current sessions. Okay, so now in today's session, I have Ola with me, and Ola and I are going to introduce our first SaaS-based data service, integration platform as a service, if you will. We're calling hybrid data delivery. And hybrid data delivery is a new data service which is part of our broader vision for our integration platform as a service called Qlik Cloud Data Services. Now, Ola is going to introduce this and present more shortly. She'll give a presentation and then turn it over to me so I can show you how hybrid data delivery works. Now, before we hand it over to Ola, I have a couple of questions. I like to ask polls to get the lay of the land, so to speak, so that we can see what the audience is familiar with some of the related topics that are associated with our webinar today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push these poll questions to you, and they're going to pop up directly within your media player. Now, they might get hidden behind the window that you're in, so just make sure you look at it. I popped it in. It says it's live. The first question is, are you familiar with Qlik Replicate, formerly Tunity Replicate? And as you guys answer that question, I'll give you about 1 minute, and then Ola, I'd like you to briefly introduce yourself and just explain what your responsibilities are while we're going through this.
Sure. So as Mike introduced my name is Ola Mayer. I'm a Director of Product Management at Qlik. I started part of, the acquisition that Qlik had almost over 2 years ago for Tunity, basically managing the Replicate that at that time was a Tunity Replicate and Compose product. And in past year, I shifted my focus in basically taking our traditional Tunity data integration solutions, taking them to the cloud as a service. And this is what I would love to share with you today, get your feedback, get you to participate in our programs.
Perfect. Okay, guys, we're going to push the results So are you familiar with Qlik Replicate, formerly Tunity Replicate? So you have, of course, I've heard of it, but I've not used it. Qlik Repla what? Okay. So good. We don't have any Qlik Repla what, unless nobody understood my sense of humor there. Okay, so of course, and then I've heard of it, but not I've used it yet. That's good. So you're still within that genre of piquing your interest and basically wanting to explore. Some of the things that we're going to do today involve Qlik Replicate. Nola's going to describe that in the presentation. So understand, as we continue to build and go forward with this, the actual concepts of Qlik Replicate are kind of under the covers. Let's go to the next question. Okay, that next question should be live on your screen. In addition to the Qlik platform, do you use cloud DWs like Snowflake, Azure Synapse, or Azure Central Data Warehouse? So we have all the time, sometimes, never, or other. Okay, I don't know why. Oh, there we go. Oh, Ola, are you messing around with that?
Oh, sorry. No.
Okay, because I could see. I saw the poll results switching back and forth. Sorry, guys, we can go back to it.
I did not realize I have any impact on what you're doing.
Oh yeah, you're listed as a producer, so you could actually have full control of this as well.
So I'm really sorry about that.
Like I said, we keep these informal and informative. Okay. Based off of the number of attendees that we have here, I think we should be able to push that question. I'm going to push the results. So sometimes and all the time, probably, are our top contenders right there. And then we have some with never. So I'd be interested in learning, and Ola and I would be interested in learning, why never in that case. Only we will see the responses. So for those of you who have X never, if there's a further explanation behind that, you can type that into the Q&A, and Ola and I would see that. I'm curious as to the reasoning for that.
And the ones that say sometimes all the time, if you don't mind listing which ones.
Okay, let's go to the next one. This is the last question, guys. What cloud platform do you use in your org? AWS, Azure, Google, none, or other? And the reason for these type of questions also is you're going to see kind of a mix of the different platforms that I'm going to be using today. I mean, obviously the Qlik Sense platform is the cloud platform we're using there, and then I'll be using a little bit of Amazon S3 during the demonstration, and Ola's going to talk about that when she goes through our slide deck. But these familiarities with cloud-based technologies is the basis of what we're doing here with this first delivery service. Okay, let's go to the poll results. Okay, you see that all primarily Azure and AWS.
Yeah, this is what we see pretty much in general in the market.
Okay, very good. So we definitely would like to continue the conversation with those. You guys know how to reach us to understand more about what it is we want to do with this, and we can continue that conversation later. And I do see some questions popped up, but we'll address those a little bit. All right, so Ola, you can now share your screen. I'm going to stop my sharing, and you can continue with the presentation.
Just tell me what you see right now.
It usually takes about 20 seconds for it to pop up.
Just give me a second. I know I need to swap the display, so just bear with me a second. Okay, now is it what you? Okay, great. Thank you very much, Mike.
Okay.
Okay, so we did the introductions. I'm going to jump directly to the presentation. So before we jump into overview of hybrid data delivery service and a demo, just want to share with you our Qlik Cloud vision in general, so you understand how this piece is going to be falling together. What you see on the right side of the diagram, you can see the analytic services that you're probably already familiar with and hopefully love. But on the left side, this is what the new services, the data services that we are right now developing and starting to roll out now as we speak. in the center of the slide, you see a set of foundational services like catalog, like orchestration, that we believe are essential capabilities of any cloud platform and will be delivered as part of the platform of any service that we will be rolling out to the market. And then at the bottom, you can see a very large set of connectors that our customers in general already using with our traditional products and cloud products, and we're going to be providing tight integration into the platform, so you can, as a customer of this platform, will be able to connect to any of your data sources in the cloud or in your data centers and delivering this information to the cloud. So the first use case we are addressing is for users who want to move their on-premise data to Qlik Cloud in near real time for analytics purposes. This is the first solution that truly realizes our product vision for end-to-end active intelligence. I want to call out some highlights of this service that makes it basically combined together, makes it a unique solution for enterprise class cloud solutions. So like we are really focusing on enterprise stability and capabilities like full cloud command and control, no coding to generate and keep up to date those QVDs that you're familiar with in the cloud, using our flagship change data capture technology coming from the replicate, like traditional replicate platform and engines. Those QVDs will be generated ready for consumption for analytics services in Qlik scripting. A very long list already mentioned of on-premise and cloud sources. Another very important thing that we inherited from the products we have already, no impact on production environment. So you don't need to install any agents directly on your sources. It's pretty much zero footprint architecture. And probably I don't want to say most, but probably one of more important capabilities is outgoing secure connection between your data sources and Qlik Cloud. So there is no firewall ports were required to be opened in order for you to access, basically to share the data between your enterprise sources to Qlik Cloud. So here you can actually see high-level architecture and components that are used in phase one of our hybrid data delivery for active QVDs. And to explain to you the entire process, and it might be like sound there are multiple steps, but this is what we're striving to automate, is we're capturing the data from your enterprise sources, wherever they are located, landing the data in the raw format in cloud managed storage, starting with S3 buckets, but we will be expanding those options too. We will be picking up this data and automatically creating and applying changes to the QVDs. Those QVDs are immediately cataloged and made available for consumption by analytic application or by user scripting. With this service, the users have an option, either manage their QVDs inside Qlik Cloud platform itself, or if they choose, they can store those QVDs in their own S3 buckets. And also in this diagram, you can see that at least in initial space, we are still leveraging customer managed replicate combined with management and control of Qlik Cloud. But in the near future, we are going to be moving more and more, although using similar architecture, but we will switch between replicate to data gateway, and instead of customer managed replicate, so it's going to be completely a cloud managed solution, and also we'll be adding support of delivering data not just to Qlik Cloud, but also to Snowflakes and Synapse and other cloud data warehouses, but still managed through Qlik Cloud as a service. So now, yes.
Oh, that's Mike. So from what I'm seeing here, just directly, where I would normally create a script to perform, you know, an incremental update or an incremental load of my QVDs. I no longer need to do that. This is something that's going to actually keep those QVDs up to date in near real time.
Yes, that's exactly basically the added value of this solution is complete automation. So no scripting required. And as we go develop more and more this service, it's going to be all the moving parts will become completely automated, like also delivering directly to the application, doing transformations, etc. So there will, like, as this service matures, there will be lots of components for automation, and we will also be looking for your feedback in order to help us to enhance this solution.
Perfect.
So now let's kind of describe what you're going to see in your demo, in Mike's demo. We're going to, so Mike already predefined the communication between Replicate and Qlik Cloud. And Mike, correct me if I'm kind of saying something, missing something from your demo.
No, go ahead.
What he going to start with building replication task. And we'll define the data assets that, or the processes that associated with building out this process. So he will show you how to define the lending asset that takes the data from the source and pre-stage the raw data in the S3 bucket. And then he will also define the storage data asset, which is at the end of the day, a process that continuously pulls the data from lending and converts it into the QVDs files. And finally, he also will show how to deliver this data from like the QVDs into the application, kind of provide end-to-end analytic pipeline, completely automated. So you can see the full orchestration of this data streaming through your cloud platform. And for oh, sorry, I forgot to build up. So those are all the steps that I mentioned. So creating the replicate task, creating the data asset, making the storage data asset, and then delivering to the application. And as Mike said, no scripting, just utilizing the tools that are already available in the platform, even with the first release of this service. So what I want also to emphasize here before I jump to the next slide is here is the explanation. As you can see, why this is called hybrid data delivery and not just data delivery service, because this is a true combination between the data sources that are located anywhere, either in your data center or in other clouds, and the Qlik Cloud orchestration. So the hybrid component is that we are really your source agnostic. We have probably one of the largest support matrix today in the industry that helps you to collect information for wherever you need, delivering to centralized location. In this specific demo, Mike, I think you're using MySQL database as a source, and the data, you can see how we build this process of how we're going to generate the data streams directly from this MySQL database through replicate kind of underlying technology all the way to the application.
Correct.
So before I'll give the stage back to Mike. I just want to kind of provide call to action. If you guys find what I'm presenting here and Mike's demo interesting, please either contact your account manager or click on this link and fill out the form, and we will be in touch with you. This form goes not just to account manager, it also goes to me. So we will arrange direct conversation. We'll go deeper even into discussion of these implementations, and we'll love to share with you our product and kind of let you test drive it. So back to you, Mike.
Okay. What you can do, Ola, is get that URL, the bit.ly hybrid data delivery, and you could actually just we can send that to them. Yeah, we can put it, you can basically add a question and then answer it with that. We can give that to them later. But let me screen share my side now. All right, guys, so as this starts to share on your end, I just have to wait till the audience view updates. Okay, good. All right, so there's a lot of moving pieces here. Just to kind of, I don't have an architecture slide to show you my environment, but what I'm going to let you know is that, first of all, any data source can be used. I'm using MySQL because I actually have an application that I built in PHP, and it actually monitors and manages inventory and products. So if I wanted to add new products and delete products and make changes to the data, I can do it without scripting. I can go right into this application. It supports a transactional system, if you will. Think of a point of sale system or an inventory management, maintenance app. I could do any of that stuff. So it actually works very well for showing near real-time updates and gets to that aha moment. And you can see how things actually change in real time. So that's why I'm using MySQL as my source. So this is actually sitting in my office right now in Florida, right next to my desk, where I have this MySQL server, this PHP, Apache, whole web-based setup running on my system here. Okay, so this is my transactional data. Now, we're going to create an analytical application off of this transactional data, and we're going to create a data pipeline using the data hybrid delivery service, using a new service that's going to be available in the cloud. Underneath this menu here, you're going to see something called data services. So this is going to now bring me to a new hub called the Data Services Home. And this is where I begin building what we call our data assets. Now, these videos are going to be updated with videos created by our products team and myself that'll help guide you in this process. But this is going to be that instructional homepage that talks about everything that we just mentioned in the beginning of the presentation. Now, as Ola had mentioned, the first edition of this actually uses Replicate in the back end. And I actually have my environments connected. So I actually have a machine image in the cloud right now that is running Replicate. And I'm going to move that over to you over here in your screen. Okay, now this is Replicate that's going to be responsible for accessing the source or on-premise data or cloud data, wherever it exists. And it's going to be responsible for landing that data to the cloud, in this case, Amazon S3. And it's also going to be responsible for recognizing changes, deletions, insertions, and keeping that data updated and fresh for my analytical apps. So this is a blank canvas, guys. So we're going to start directly from scratch here. So I have endpoints. Endpoints are just data connectors, if you will. And you can see Tarallo, Office, MySQL. And I'm just going to test the connection because sometimes it changes the IP on me. But you can see that's my public IP address into my Office. For this demonstration, I poked a hole in my firewall. And I'm connected directly to my SQL within my Office. Then I also have a landing data asset, which we call the Qlik Cloud landing asset. And you can see this is going to my own S3 bucket, and it's already configured and connected to first land the data there. So those are my two data sources. Now, to create a Replicate task, if you guys are interested in learning about Replicate as a whole, I have a video called Qlik Replicate, a Hello World demonstration. This will go into more detail about everything I'm going to show you, including transformations and monitoring and processing. Obviously, we're not going to go through all that in this example here, okay? But that will be a good reference for you. And this is available in our Qlik YouTube channel. Well, let me go back to the Qlik Replicate environment. So the other thing to point out is that the two environments are connected through another piece of our software called the Enterprise Manager. And the Enterprise Manager is basically the centralized area for monitoring Replicate tasks. Okay, so think of this as reading the Replicate servers or multiple Replicate servers and all the tasks that are running and processing data. This monitors and views those tasks. So for reference, you can see that we have something called Qlik Cloud Services connection, and it's connected already. Okay, this has been connected with a registration key. To make a long story short, both my Enterprise Manager that's going to monitor and keep track of my Replicate tasks and my Qlik Cloud environment are connected to each other. And you can see data services, demos, us.qlikstage.com. Okay, so these environments are connected to each other. I've already done the registration process for that. Now to create the replication task, I'm just going to create a new task, and we're going to call this one Inventory Do More. And we're going to select the profile, which is basically describing the use case, and it's going to be Qlik Cloud Landing, and it automatically shows you the task options. We're going to do a full data load from my transactional system, and then we're also going to monitor and store changes. So as inserts and deletions and updates are performed, it's going to take care of all of that for you. And then we simply drop our source. So here's the Office MySQL server, and there's my landing data. So the first part of this is creating this task in Replicate. Now, again, as Ola had mentioned, instead of using Replicate in the future, this is all going to be integrated as a gateway, and there'll probably be a UI that does all this outside of the standard Replicate software. I have to go into my task settings because this is a demo. So I have to set my data processing to every minute because I want to show you when this runs and I make some updates. We want it to run that update within a minute, so you guys aren't waiting here 15, 20 minutes. Okay, now I'm going to select my tables from the Office server, the MySQL server sitting in my Office. I'm going to select the schema. In this case, it's called, I believe, App Genie. And we're going to do a search. And it's going to pull in all our tables. And you can see there's my inventory table. We're just going to do one table. Keep it simple. So we pulled in our inventory table. At this point for this demonstration, I'm done. However, you could go in here and provide transforms, augments, filters. Okay, this is in the sense, think of it as ETL, but it's more processing ELT. It's performing these processes on that server, streaming that data down to the landing. But you can perform transforms and filters. Okay, and I do go through this in my video. You rename your fields. You can perform your mappings. You can select filtering options, basically using expressions. I'm not going to do all that, but you can basically augment, change, filter, transform your data prior to it landing. Okay, now all we have to do is save our task. Now remember, we named this task Inventory Do More. We go to the Enterprise Manager, and you're going to see it found my Replicate server, and it found my task. And you can see it's in a stopped state right now. That's all you need to know right now. We just created that task in Replicate. Now I'm going to go back to my data services environment, and we're going to create the first asset. So if you remember, Ola mentioned, first thing we do is we take the data that's been created, and we're going to put it directly to the cloud or the S3 bucket, in this case, my choice. This service area is where you build those tasks to work with the Replicate tasks that are in the back end. So I have a data space here, which is a new area to maintain these particular, what we call storage assets and landing assets. So we're going to create a data asset, and we're going to make it the type landing. And just for demo purposes, I'm going to call this one Inventory Landing. And I click Create. We have some instructional information here, but notice the button says Select Replicate Task. And as I mentioned, these environments are now talking to each other. There's my server. And there is the connection, right? So here's the connected space. There's my server, and there's my Inventory Do More task that we created in Replicate. Any additional description information, sources, targets, etc. We click Select. That's all there is to it at this point here. We click Save. So I'm going to show you what's going to happen when I click Save. Here's my Amazon S3 bucket. Okay, here's my data space there in S3. I have nothing in it. So what we're going to do is when I go back, I'm going to click Save. And now it saves the task to the server. And now we're going to click Catalog. Basically, Catalog is now creating the structure that it's going to use to store and write that data. So you can see it says cataloging right here in the upper right. I'm going to wait till that finishes. Okay, once it's done cataloging, we're going to run it. But first, before I run it, I'm just going to refresh my S3, and you're going to see that it creates a structure. There's your inventory structure. So these are folder structures in S3 where it's going to now store these files for the landing. Now we got to do this in two pieces. I'm going to click Run. Okay, so what run is going to do is that's going to kick off that replicate task. So watch what happens when I click run. I'm going to click run, and now I'm going to jump over to our inventory manager. Enterprise manager on the replicate side. Now you can see it's automatically running, and you can see we're running the load task here. So the APIs between the two systems are now talking to each other, and it just kicked off this task. And now you can see that one table has been loaded. It's queued, table's completed, totaled, left. So it's going through that process. And now that table is created and loaded on S3. So now if I go back into S3 and we go in, there's the data. So that's the landing asset. That's basically what the landing asset does. And I just opened it here, and you can see now that that's the data of all the inventory we just read from MySQL landed to the cloud. Okay, so that's not the aha moment. Okay, it's impactful, it's process, but where the aha moment comes in is when we start to load this data into a QVD and when it starts to keep up to date. So to do that, we're going to go back and we're going to create a storage asset. Now, a storage asset uses the landing asset. Okay, so what we're going to do is create a new data asset, and we're going to call this one inventory storage. And we're going to choose this asset type as storage. And as Ola had mentioned, this creates the QVD. Okay, got some instructions here. Select the source data. In this case here, you're choosing the data asset that we called landing. And I choose this, hit select, and you're going to see it recognizes it. I choose the data connection that it's being pulled from, in this case, my Amazon S3. And then where do I want to store this QVD? Click Manage Storage, which is the one that comes with the cloud, or you can choose your own. In this case, we're just going to use the Qlik Manage Storage. So I click OK. I'm going to click Save, and then click Catalog. Okay, so what this is doing right now, it's creating that structure in the QVD format. If I was to move back to my data analytics and explore my data space, you can now see that QVD structure is there, but we can't run it just yet. We still have to use this. So let's go back to data services. Okay, and now we're ready to run. Just to show you what this looks like once we created it, because you have some monitoring and metrics. So there's the table structure. Under source data, we can see the individual tables, and we haven't run it yet, so there isn't any monitoring and metrics. So now we're going to click run. Okay, so when I click run, this is now going to actually take the data from the S3 landing area and create a QVD. Now, while it's doing that, I'm going to go back to my data assets, and you're going to see they're in a state of running. Okay, that's how they stay. These are individual tasks that are now using some of the data integration backend processes. Technically, the users can select what they need to run based off of the descriptive information within the task and set up, and keep that data for their analytics up to date now based off of whatever has been set up in the back end. So here for our storage task, as I'd mentioned, we set it up to 1 minute processing. So it kicks it off in that time frame, so to speak. So now we can go to metrics, and we can look and see the number of tables created, full load status, app inventory QVD has been completed. So now I can go back to data analytics. In this case, I'm just going to open it up in a new tab. I'm going to go to my data space, and now I'm going to click Profile. And there is all my data now landed as a QVD in my cloud in Qlik Sense. So for argument's sake, now we're going to just create an app from this data. We'll call it Do More Inventory. We'll put it in our personal space. And I'm going to create a very simple visualization. And then we're going to perform some updates to our transactional system. So here, for this argument sake, I'm just going to go in. I'm going to deal with platform. We'll just create a simple list box. And then we'll do another platform here. And let's make this a bar chart. Let's add a measure. Let's do number of titles, and let's do count of titles. Okay. So in this case here, we have a number of different product titles, the counts of those titles, and we have a filter list. So now we have these tasks running. Let's say I'm going to make some changes now within the transactional system. So in this case here, I'm going to filter. Okay. For those of you watching this, this is not Qlik. This is my third-party application that I built in PHP and MySQL that's representing a transactional system. I'm filtering on platform. So let's filter on Atari 2600. We have no records. Let's filter on NES. We have no records in the transactional system. So let's import some of those records. So I'm going to import, let's say, the Atari records. Okay, I'm going to hit Start Upload and import CSV data. When I hit this button, I'm going to switch over and watch the change processing occur. So I click this button, and now it's importing 157 records. We're going to bring this over here. And we're going to go to the Change Processing tab. And now we're going to watch these changes occur real time or near real time. I believe it must have to wait the minutes occur, but you can see the latency, something's going on here right now. And you can see we have 157 inserts that have taken place. So this is now taking care of that process and landing that data again, once again, to the S3. And then we have the change processing occurring on this side. So if we go back to our data asset, in this case here, which is the one that creates the QVD, current batch of changes, processed records, 157. Let's go to our inventory. And let's do a refresh. See if it landed that data just yet. It still could be in the middle of processing because we have change processing set up to a minute. It's been completed. Now I have a new bar. And we have 157 records of the Atari 2600. And now we also have it available within our app. Now you can imagine my excitement going through this the first time, considering that I actually have an app that I built to maintain my video game inventory that I track, and I've been doing incremental loads. Now I'm switching all of my apps over to this technology. So I could actually do a couple more things. We can do deletions, we could do insertions and updates, but I think you guys by this time get the gist of how this works. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to look at the questions. Ola and I are going to look at the questions and we're going to address them. So any comments or feedback in regards to what you saw is also helpful. Okay, so Ola, let's see. So the first question, no, it's okay. I see that you answered them, but we're going to go through them.
Some of them
live, though, for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the first one was, can you explain when the hybrid data delivery will be released? Now, I did answer that one directly. Ola, would you like to take that just directly in case my answer was wrong when I typed it into Pedro?
No, absolutely correct. We literally in the last days of kind of testing the scalability, so it can be like hopefully next week. It might be delayed for another week, but it's like next 2 weeks should be already GA and out.
Okay, so within the next week or so, 2 weeks?
Yep.
Okay, yep. Cool. This question is a little bit longer, so let me just look at it first. Okay, so we have Azure Synapse and for security reasons are not able to connect Qlik direct, so we have to go through on-premise server before going to Qlik SaaS. Can the hybrid model take Azure Synapse data and replicate it to an on-premise server before going to Qlik SaaS?
I was looking at this. I would need to understand. Maybe it's something that we can take offline. I need to understand what are exactly the limitations, and is there a way to work around through the service. Today we won't be able to do directly that, but again, I need to understand the security constraints before I can answer that completely.
Okay, cool. So Anthony, I just sent you the email address, domorewithqlik@qlik.com. If you would like to continue the conversation, just send over to that and I will forward it to Ola and we can continue the conversation. Okay, this is a good one both of us might be able to answer. What will the difference to the Qlik data transfer that delivers some of the functionalities per their understanding? So we have another tool called Qlik Data Transfer. So Ola, this is a completely different concept. Are you familiar with Qlik Data Transfer, or is that a different group?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's me. It's also me.
Okay.
It's just different target audience. Qlik Data Transfer. It's a fantastic solution when you want to implement, kind of deliver data to cloud as a standalone user. When you're experimenting with data, trying to understand what are the sources, trying to design your data processes, even for some smaller type of implementation. This hybrid data delivery, it's designed to address true enterprise class deployments by central IT when you need to move large data to the cloud, like from Oracle databases, from SAPs, from mainframe DB2, do it in continuous streaming way, utilizing change data capture technology versus periodic full reloads. It also much more addressing security constraints. For example, we mentioned that no opening ports, so it's an outbound correction versus pulling data from the cloud to the from on-premise to the cloud. So there is like it's the difference between kind of a line of business or single user solution versus central implementation.
Now, also, Qlik Data Transfer is platform agnostic. I mean, is only for Windows as a service, right? Where I believe the technology we're working on is more platform agnostic. They run on Linux or Unix.
So Replicate today runs also on Linux and on Unix. The data gateway that will come down the road going to be even more agnostic. It's going to be delivered in some type of container. So it will provide much more enterprise flexibility. Perfect.
Can the landing zone be an on-premise server?
So right now, no. There are different architectural considerations around that. For example, it's also in general, we want the landing zone to be as close to the target as possible, so your performance is going to be significantly higher consuming the data into your QVDs. But as we're going to extend our support matrix beyond just QVD destination, if it will make sense to add landing zone, for example, we consider landing zones in Azure, in other cloud platforms. We might also, depending on the destination, we might consider also adding landing on premise.
Okay. This is a good question too from Pedro. There's a QVD limitation with 10 million lines within a data set. Will it create a new QVD automatically? How it works? How does this work?
I would have to get back. I don't have. I want to be careful before answering this question, so I'll have to get back to you.
Okay, Pedro, I got the email address out to you there, so just send that out. We can follow up with that as well. Okay, and I'm going to take this link that Ola had sent out. I'm going to add it as a question. And I'm going to answer the question and send it to all. And
Mike already did that.
Oh, did you send it to everyone or just individual?
Yes, to everyone.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think so.
Yeah, I didn't see it pop up, but if you did answer to everyone for the other question, then they probably did get it. That's the bit.ly address that you also see, that you also should have just received.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. You said here is the URL. I see it. There it is. All right, so we just sent it twice. Does the hybrid model preserve data lineage that is found in the Qlik catalog?
So we need to make sure that we differentiate between on-prem catalog solution versus the Qlik Cloud catalog solution. So this is not going to be working with Qlik on customer managed solution. This is oriented to integration as part of the cloud platform. And once lineage functionality will be rolled out in the cloud, which I believe coming out in 2-3 months, we will immediately inherit that capability too. So this is like the point of integration. A catalog, as I mentioned in the presentation, is an essential fundamental capability that we are from day one plugging into.
Okay, is this service priced separately?
Yes, it will be priced separately, but for early adopters, for this year, we are running a promotion programs that can provide you licenses for free for a year. So if you are interested to test drive it, please either utilize that URL or just simply send me an email and I'll put things in motion.
Here's another question on a pricing structure. Will it mimic the current replicate structure and be based on server size of the source?
No. So the current replicate structure is it's more of a customer managed on-prem pricing structure. We are still working on pricing that or entitlement management that's more suitable for cloud. For example, we are looking into data under management or capacity under management, how much data will be flowing, and similar kind of parameters that will provide us better cloud-based pricing structure.
So here's a question. If a customer already has Replicate and Compose, as well as SaaS, Qlik Sense SaaS, will they need to get anything else to get this to work? This is the latest version. Oh, go ahead.
If specifically for customers that are already existing Replicate customers, and on top of that also Qlik Sense customers, simply contact your account manager, or again send to me. We would just need to provide you a license to create the communication, like Mike demonstrated, communication between Replicate server and the cloud, and we can get you going. But again, please, if you're interested to test drive it, contact your account manager. We will get you going very quickly.
Okay, and then in conjunction with Allah was talking about this version of Replicate that I'm using, you can see it has the Qlik Cloud Service integration points here. So selecting a registration key, copy the registration key, for example, from here. I didn't show you this step, but then when we are in our data services, I'll just do it within my data space here. Oops. Ola, where's the connectivity on this part? I think it's in the menu, right?
Connectivity, no, you need to go to the data space. The connection is in the data space, and you add this as a resource,
oh, there it is, data resources.
Resource. Yeah, data resources in the data space. Here it is, yeah.
So there's the key, and you can see now this is connected to my Enterprise Manager source, and there's my S3 connection as well.
Yeah.
The hybrid service automatically kicks, good question, Pablo. All right, so this was something that came up when we talked about this earlier when I was introduced to this. Ola, what is the plans to automatically make the Qlik Sense SaaS app automatically reload once the update occurs on the storage asset?
Excellent question. It's on a road, or sorry, it's on our roadmap. So today it's not available yet, but we'll roll it out in a few months. This capability of taking all the way to the application.
And Alex, you asked a question about will Replicate and Qlik Sense already be in place to buy the add-on, or I think we answered that already. If there's something that wasn't clear or you need us to add additional information, please let us know. Okay, so we can hang on for another minute or two for a few more questions. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the presentation and the demo and it was meaningful. I know I enjoyed working with Ola and her team learning this technology. I can't wait for the other pieces. As I mentioned, the data hybrid delivery is just the first of a number of services coming out of the Qlik Cloud Data Services. There's going to be a lot more. So I can't wait to get my hands on whatever next you're going to be showing, Ola.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me just switch back to my other environment. So we'll just wait for any other questions to come in. Okay, I don't see any other questions come in, so I'd like to thank you, Ola, for joining me and being a great part of this awesome new capability added to Qlik Cloud. If you want to join me again on the next one, we'd love to have you on this, definitely. I have a feeling you will be, because I'm going to be showcasing a lot more great stuff coming out. If you had any other parting words?
Well, again, please feel free either to contact through the forum, but if you have questions you want to send me directly, I would love to understand better your environment and understand how we can make the service better suited for each one of you.
Perfect. And we did have another question come in. Let me see, address that. I just sent the email address to everyone. Do we have a need for Blender functionality? Do you see a need for Blender functionality to make this work end to end?
So, like, for example, the question that you asked about delivering data all the way to application. So under covers, we will be utilizing Blender to do the orchestration. It's not necessarily going to be completely exposed to you, but this is we are using the technology that's available for us through Blender to build the end-to-end orchestration pipeline.
Cool. Yeah, because we do have those endpoints in there, and it could possibly even use webhooks, I would imagine,
yeah,
or
that's completely different, but just being able to say, okay, I have process A, and then as we adding transformation services, whatever, there will be lots of needs for orchestrations, and Blender is the natural architecture to do that.
Perfect. All right, guys, I'm going to give you 5 minutes back. Please join me July 15th at 10 a.m. next time. I have a nice, fun presentation, talk about some of the new capabilities, collaborative notes, self-service reporting via subscription, chart sharing, and a couple little more tidbits that I've discovered within the Qlik Sense SaaS platform. So I hope to see you then, so you guys can continue your education with Qlik and learn how to do more with Qlik. I wish you guys a great day and a great weekend ahead. And thank you so much for joining. And thank you once again, Ola, for being part of this.
Same. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.